Well, I think there was some nervousness, if you want to call it that, after Georgia's win over Georgia Tech, that it wasn't dominant enough for folks to think that the Dogs would keep the number one ranking. That was not the case. Georgia was not unanimous, but very close to being that in the AP poll and the coaches poll today. It's not. I mean, I'm not. Sometimes people get so amped up about what's going on out there. They watch Georgia play and they figure out ways to criticize their own team, and that's fine. But I mean, Georgia was the number one team today. 58 first place votes to Michigan's five. Reese Davis was one of those five. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know how you could justify moving Michigan to number one because they beat Ohio State. I mean, it was a great win, but you have to have them jump over Georgia. I've not seen anything right now that would make me think that I would vote Michigan number one over Georgia. They have a great win over Ohio State. That was a good win. It really was. I'm not just like sort of saying that, so I'm setting it up for something else. But Georgia's the number one team in the country. It's just what it is. And I mean, I get the feeling personally that had Ohio State won this game, Georgia would not be getting as many votes. I think there's a bit of like Michigan prejudice at times, just because they're not hot and flashy. Well, they're 12-0. I mean, I think they were 11-1 last year. I was about to say 12-0 again. They're not 12-0 again. The only team that's 12-0 again is Georgia. I mean, why isn't TCU getting first place votes? Why is it just, do they not have a good enough win? And they might not, right? But I'm not surprised by this. I mean, like, so the poll for the AP, and there are three polls. One really matters, and then there's the AP poll. The one that matters is the college football playoff ranking, and that we won't know that until Tuesday night. That will be an important moment, and in things. But the coaches poll, which is an irrelevant poll, it has to go to the winner of the college football playoff. The AP does not, but it usually does. So Georgia's the one in the coaches poll, 61st place votes to three. And now everybody's mirroring themselves. You got Georgia as the one, Michigan two, Texas Christian as the three, SC as the four, Ohio State as the five, Alabama as the six. The Tennessee and Penn State are flip flopped at 7 and 8. UW is at 9 in both polls, and you had Kansas State at 10 in the coaches, Clemson at 10 in the AP, and then the AP goes LSU at 11, Utah, Kansas State, Florida State, and Oregon. In the coaches poll, you had Kansas State at 10, then Clemson, then Utah, LSU at 13, Florida State at 14, and Oregon at 15. So in that one, Georgia has played several and defeated several. In fact, in both polls, they beat four ranked teams because now Mississippi State is ranked. How you could put Central Florida in front of Mississippi State, I don't know. And I'm just going off the top of my head. I don't know anything about Central Florida other than that, they lost to Navy. They barely beat a really bad Central Florida team or South Florida team. Everybody in Florida seems the same. Lost to Louisville. I mean, come on, y'all. Like use some brains when you're doing this. Like some of y'all are just filling this stuff out. And like if you're going to be that way, at least correctly put teams in there. I mean, Mississippi State at least plays in this league. They've lost to Georgia, Alabama. Half their losses are to LSU, Georgia, and Alabama are the three of their losses. Come on, like be better. I am not an AP voter. I'm just a Heisman voter, but be better. Damn, I mean, like, I'm sure the college football playoff will have some idiotic take on this too. I don't know what. I mean, I had NC State ranked a couple weeks ago, which was just completely insane. It's like we're not living on Earth. Make sure you're picking up. If you're interested in the Kelee book, the Kelee book. In DAWGSTRUCTION, we've got Kelee Ringo-Signed. That's what I said, Kelee book. I've got that signed by Kelee. There's a very limited edition number of these. You can click the link down below. A lot more of them were gone after the first week than I expected. I mean, I thought they'd go, but they're going quicker than I thought. So get on that now. But I think this is going to mean, what does this mean for the college football playoff poll? To me, I think people like Dog Post is an awesome community, great message board, but on the porch, but the reaction is not dissimilar to everybody else. They don't think Georgia played well. They beat Tech by 23, I think it was. There's just not much to talk about. They're going to be the one. If they're not, that's a real red flag. Now, I will tell you this. Let me go on my rant. College Football Playoff Committee has not been very impressive so far this year. And, that they had, I think they had Clemson in front of Michigan at the beginning, which didn't make a ton of sense to me necessarily. I'm trying to remember how everything worked. Yeah, they had Tennessee, Ohio State, Georgia at the 3, Clemson at the 4, and then Michigan at 5, which to me was just puzzling. But I think there is a lot of concern right now that Georgia will not play in Atlanta, even though they'd be 13-0. Look, 13-0 Georgia, if they're not playing in Atlanta, something's really wrong with the college football playoff. I mean, something's really, really wrong. Michigan at 13-0, they of course deserve to be in the playoff. They should be the 2, I think. To me, they should have the opportunity to play in Atlanta, but they're not the better team. They don't have their better resume. I'm just going to look real quick at and the funny thing is college football playoff will just come up with their own stuff. But there's only, and these are 2 good wins. But Michigan has beaten Penn State and Ohio State, and Georgia has 4 wins in the top 25 according to the AP, and a couple of them. And if Georgia were to win another one, that'd be 5 with LSU. And I don't know who Michigan's playing this week. It's not good. It's not a team that's good. Purdue. I rest my case. Purdue is 8-4. So if Georgia, you'll know that Georgia will stay the 1 if they come into this week as the 1. They're going to be the 1. The question is now, and Georgia fans can quit biting their fingernails and getting their Larry Munson on. The question is twofold. We're going to talk about this a lot because now we've gotten to the terminal moment. Who is going to be at 5? Is it going to be Alabama? Is it going to be Ohio State? I am skeptical it will be Alabama at the 5. I'm skeptical. I'm not saying that won't happen. B, will SC lose Friday night to Utah? And then C, even if they do lose, would they drop below that group? I think they probably would. I mean, like if we, again, it's hard, and I to some degree have sympathy with the College Football Playoff Committee. I don't have a lot. I have some because you enter a situation where it really should be the best 4 teams. And it really looks like right now the best 4 teams are the teams that are top 4 teams ranked right now, which are Georgia, Michigan, Texas, TCU, and Southern Cal. But I'm not sure that we're going to get those 4 unless they all 4 win. Georgia is in. I think Michigan's in. I think probably TCU is in. I don't know that you can really. I mean, like, I don't think you can put a 2-loss Alabama in front of 2-loss Tennessee, even though the way that Tennessee got beat by Carolina and the way they got beat by Georgia were multi-score games. They were both on the road. Alabama's 2 losses were on the road, if I'm not mistaken. The loss to LSU was on the road. But then you kind of get into the point of, and this is so funny, who is Alabama beaten? They've beaten Ole Miss, who is trash. They're not even going to be in the rank. They're not even going to be in the rankings. They didn't beat LSU. They did not. I mean, they didn't play anybody but Tennessee and Vanderbilt from the East. It's not a great schedule. I mean, Texas is not great. That could have saved Alabama. They don't really belong in the playoff. I mean, I don't wish any ill will towards them. They don't belong in the playoff. At least Ohio State has the win over Notre Dame. But they don't have a lot else besides that in the Penn State win. But that's better than Alabama's got. I'm going to tell you that right now. So I don't think it's going to be Alabama. I just tell you right now. I think it's going to be all four teams that are heading to the conference championship weekend as the teams to probably win. That's or probably get in. That's who I think is going to get in. I mean, I hate to be boring, but we're probably gonna know Friday night what's going on. Now, the caveat there is that Texas Christian's got a tricky game with K State. Like that is the one that to me is the game that's a little bit dicier than all the other ones. And they beat Kansas State by 10. That game was at home for TCU. That was a good win. But TCU's only a 2.5 point favorite. Now, that means they should win the game, but they not certainly. I mean, it's basically a coin toss. Um, but I think we're going to watch TCU, Georgia, Michigan, and USC get into this thing, and we'll just have to see what happens. We'll take it from there. Hey, thanks for watching.